Hi everyone, it's Mike here. So back in the day when I first started art journaling in 2015, one of the websites that I used to visit quite regularly for inspiration and prompts was a website called Journal52.com. Now, I followed most of the prompts religiously every week from that website. And in 2016, the beginning of 2016, it changed hands. And the new owners changed the way in which they had run the website previously. So the prompts and that kind of stuff were done in a different way. And I kind of didn't like it. So I stopped visiting the site in 2016. Well, at the beginning of this year, I went back and had a look to see how the prompts were going to work this year in 2017 to find that they've returned back to the similar format to 2015 when I first started using it, which is great. So this year, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the prompts from Journal52 in the creation of my art journal pages. I'm not saying I'm going to do it every week because I think that can be quite repetitive and sometimes you get prompts and things that you're not all that interested in or not inspired to do. So I'm going to dip in and out occasionally to use the prompts from Journal52.com. And when I do dip in, I will let you know in the title of the video, like this one. So, week 1 for Journal52.com goes something like this. So for week 1 on Journal52, this is a graphic that's been provided for you. Now this is an ATC sized graphic, so it's 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches tall. And what I've done is I've taken the image and I've just printed it out onto a piece of paper, but I've also taken the text, the description for the prompt, and also put it alongside so it's on the back. So the prompt for week 1 is portal, which is what's written on the front, rather a nice little graphic. And it says exactly what the prompt and the inspiration is for the week. So you've got portal, it says a doorway, a gate or other entrance, especially a large or elaborate one. Okay, so a synonym, doorway, gateway, entrance, exit, opening. So prompts: create a painting that includes a portal as that should be, I think, yourself where it leads. Express what it is you wish to leave behind and what it is you wish to meet as you move through one year and into the next. And then oracle, I'm not quite sure what that is. I know what an oracle is, but what this little bit is for. It says explore the ideas of doors or portals and ask yourself what they mean to you. What are you leaving behind? What are you moving toward? What is your relationship with uncertainty? What holds you back and what nudges you forward? Now, this to me is more in-depth, expressive art journaling. If you want to explore these things within you can do. If you just want to use the word portal or the doorway, that kind of thing in an art journal, then it's fine as well. You can take as much out of this or as little out of this as you want. But what I've done is I printed this graphic with that, folded it over, glued it, and then I've punched 2 holes so that I can store it. But I haven't put what week number it is, because what I intend to do is I'm going to keep them all safe. I'm going to do one for every week and then I'm going to bind them, but I'll do it in such a way that I can actually just flick through at any time. It doesn't matter what order they're in if I want inspiration at a later date. And because there's going to be 52 of these, that's a lot of inspiration to work with. So it's a great way to store some prompts and inspiration if you're stuck one day for an idea. You can just flick through your little Journal52 cards and see, if there's anything that grabs your fancy. So I'm going to make these graphics available on my website as part of a blog post for the video that I'm about to create. So if you want to, you can print these off and do exactly the same thing that I've done with them, with the prompts for Journal52.com. But I would go across to Journal52 yourself if you want to and sign up to the newsletter. It's a worthwhile website to follow. There's some great inspiration on there, and and show them a little bit of love because I think they deserve it. So I'm now going to make a start on my art journal page for week 1 on Journal52. So I'm working in my large Dilutions art journal. This is the 8x11, and I'm going to completely cover the double page spread with some tissue paper that was sent to me by Anna Jones in Happy Mail quite some time ago. So I thought it was time that I actually used it. So this tissue paper is like text in almost in columns like a newspaper, with a few roses and flower patterns thrown in at the edges. So I'm just going to glue these down. I'm not going to make you sit through the entire thing, so I'm just going to jump to the end where I've already glued it down, and now I'm going to dry it off with my heat gun before moving on with the next step. So now that the glue is all dry, I'm going to completely cover the double page spread with a mixture of black and brown paint. So I've used black and burnt umber acrylic paint, and I'm going to blend those together with a baby wipe. And yes, I know it's going to look completely horrible until I've actually finished it. So as you can see, I'm going on the page with the baby wipe, just removing and mottling the background to make it a little bit lighter, not quite as dark in some areas, and just to kind of create a textured background on that tissue paper. And then once I'm done, I'm going to grab the heat gun and just give it a nice gentle heating until it's all nice and dry, so then we can move on with our next stage. I'm going to start adding a little bit more texture now, so I'm going to be using the melted chocolate acrylic paint from Dilutions and a cosmetic sponge and the bricks stencil from TCW. I'm going to carry on using the same stencil, but I am going to switch out the colours, but I will continue to use all the Dilutions paints for this. So you'll see me using the stencil, moving it along, but just switching out the colours as and when I need to. So this is the vibrant turquoise. So we've moved on to the second one, and again I will use a different sponge each time. So third colour is a brand new one for me, just had to remove the cellophane, and this is a Dirty Martini, which is a lovely, lovely green colour. And my fourth colour for today is Squeezed Orange, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this that I did with the other colours. So it's now time to add some graffiti, and I'm going to use the white linen acrylic paint, again from Dilutions, another cosmetic sponge, and this time I'm going to be using a text stencil from Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous, one of the layering stencils. To start off with, I'm going to use the eye chart layering stencil, and again, just using the cosmetic sponge, I'm just going to add some of the white paint through the stencil in random areas around the page. So the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed the typo stencil over in the top left-hand corner. So when I'm done with the eye chart stencil, I will pop it to one side and I will bring the typo stencil out for a little bit of a variation, there you go, in the style and font of the graffiti kind of effect that I'm trying to get on this wall. So to help break up that mass of colour on the page, I also want to add in some white splatters. So just using a styrofoam plate and some of the white linen paint, adding some water and my fan brush, I'm just going to now start adding some strategic splashes and drips onto the background of my page. Now I can do this at this stage because I know exactly where my main focal point for this page is going to go. In fact, I've already pre-prepared it before I even started the page. So I've taken my main focal point and I've got it ready, cut it all out, ready to go before I even started creating the page. And this is my main focal image. It's a doorway that I found on the internet on a public domain website, and I've layered another image behind it to create a kind of portal door. Now I'm just going around the edges of the cutout with the potting soil archivaling just to get rid of any raw white edges, and then I'm just going to glue that down onto my page using some multi-purpose glue from Collall. This is a spirit glue, so it will definitely hold nicely, but it also gives you that little bit of wiggle room before it grabs and sticks onto the page. So I'm going to pop my art journal to one side to let that dry while I work on my quote and my page titles, which I've already set up on the computer. I just need to print them out and get them all cut out. So all I've done is printed the same quote out twice using two different fonts, and this is my Stampin' Up paper trimmer that I'm just going to cut each line individually, and then I'm going to trim them out and get ready to stick them down into my art journal. Because I printed the quote out in two different fonts, I can then vary the style of the writing on each alternative line for the page. It just adds a little bit more visual interest to the page rather than having the same font all the time. So I'm just positioning my word blocks on the page where I think I want to add them, and then I'm just going to glue them down onto the page just using some standard craft glue. This is just bog standard PVA school glue, and I'm just using a small fine applicator, or fine point applicator, to add the glue onto the back. So I'm just sticking those down and they will hold in next to no time. After sitting back and looking at the page, something was missing. I wanted to break up some more of that dark background, so I decided to bring out the chicken wire reversed stencil from TCW, and again using the white linen paint from Dilutions, I'm just going to add some visual interest around the outside portions of the page, but also I want to bring some of that white into that focal point to help it coalesce into the page better. That's a really good word, that, isn't it? Coalesce. It just helps the cohesion of the page if you add a little bit of that pattern onto your focal point as well. So it just helps it to blend into the background better. So just adding the final touch, which is a little bit of that pattern onto the doorway itself. And I'm happy with that now, so I'm just going to give it a nice gentle heat before I bring in my Stabilo black oil pencil just to add a few shadows and the highlights around my word blocks and my doorway itself. This just helps to just ground them a little bit more onto your page, just so that they're not just floating in space. Now obviously I have 5 lines of white right in the middle of that right hand page, and that does need to be toned down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate the pencil, because it is a water soluble pencil, with the paintbrush, as you can see me doing here, and then I'm going to go around all the word blocks, and then I'm going to add some of the colour from around the outside of those word blocks, and I'm going to just go over the word blocks just to tone down that white. So it is going to start looking a bit more grungy, which is exactly what I want it to look like. I don't want them stark white staring you in the face. I do want to tone them down into the background a bit more, and this is the best way to do it. So before you gasp in horror at the fact I've ruined those blocks, bearing in mind that this is still wet, when it dries they will tone down and the whiteness will come back again. If I've lost any of the writing, like I did do a little bit on the word your, I'm just going to bring out a Pigma number 5 micron pen and just go back over the letters just to re-darken them where I think it's necessary. It looks darker on screen than it actually does in real life. So it's toned down the white, but it is light enough for you to be able to read the letters and read the words with no problems at all. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the way that this page has turned out. It's exactly what I wanted, that I hoped for. The colours in the background, and with that writing and the interest of the chicken wire, it kind of makes it almost otherworldly. So I'm so happy. I've dated it and signed it, and I'm calling it done. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me create the art journal page from week 1 from Journal52.com, and I hope you pop across and have a look at their website too, and maybe join in yourself this year and show them a little bit of love, because they inspired me when I first started art journaling, so I think I owe them a little bit of a debt of gratitude. So if you have enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share the video with all your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of this video. That's all from me for now. I will see you all again real soon. Bye for now.